Welcome into PressBox Live. I'm Stan the Fan Charles of PressBox and PressBoxOnline.com. And back with me is Gary Stein after an absence of a few months. I've missed you, Gary.
I missed you too, Stanley. What's going on?
Before we introduce our guests, I've got to do some business, but I also want to mention that Gary Stein is now the voice of WCBM Sports in the morning from 6 o'clock at the top of the hour, 6:05, 6:35, all the way to noon, correct?
Exactly. And Stanley, when I need somebody to fill in for me,
Yeah.
I'm calling you because I know you're going to want to be there at 6:05 a.m., right?
Oh, definitely. I'm just going to bed usually at that time.
Exactly. It's perfect.
Yeah. Our guest is one of our special ones that we look forward to each year, and I'm going to introduce him in just a second. We are brought to you by the Costas Inn. We are also brought to you by a company that makes your home more energy efficient, kills all allergens and viruses, and qualifies you for $6,000 in rebates. That company would be A.J. Michael Heating and Air Conditioning. Turn to the experts, A.J. Michaels and Carrier at ajmichaels.com. Our guest is Senior Vice President, Chief Sales Officer of the Baltimore Ravens. He makes a yearly pit stop with us. Kevin Rochlitz. Kevin, thank you very much for coming on. A lot of exciting stuff to talk about.
No problem. Thanks, Stan. Good to see you, Gary.
Hey, Stan. Hey, Kevin.
Wanted to touch base. We're going to get into all the specifics about the renovations at the stadium, both finished for this year, will take place next year. But I want to talk about something a little different, is how you, the Ravens, when you sat down, you knew you had this bed of money, the $600 million that you were eligible for. How did you prioritize what the Ravens' priorities were? In other words, was it money first, enhancement for fans, co-equal? Tell us a little bit about what the thought process was.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, when we got the money, we had to sit down and identify how we were going to spend those dollars. And you have to look at everything, and it goes very fast, as we all know, when you get a certain amount of money. But we wanted to look at all areas of the stadium because the bones of the building are really pretty good. But there were some things around the building that we needed to increase. You know, I define it as typically an aircraft. If you fly on Delta or whatever, you can buy your coach seat, you could buy premium comfort or first class, and you can buy other refundable and things like that. If you came to M&T Bank Stadium, it was like you had a regular seat or a club seat or in a suite, and that was it. So we wanted to find other ways that people could purchase other opportunities. So whether it was the field seats that we put in, or the additional suites that we're building, or the additional clubs that will come online in 2025, those type of things, we wanted to make sure that we had the ability to come up with a lot of ways that Ravens fans could participate and get involved in all those things. And then it was also looking at what needed fixed inside the building from a standpoint of, you know, whether it was carpet or painting and those type of things that just needed a fresh coat and cleaned up a little bit. We had identified all those areas from a company that could help us go through that process of the building and help extend the life of M&T Bank Stadium, knowing that we're going to be there for quite a while.
Gary, go ahead. You shoot.
So Kevin, if someone had gone, and this is just as like an aside question, if someone went to the opener against the Raiders and they entered in on the north side, they didn't see the statues of Johnny Unitas and Ray Lewis,
right?
And they may not know the situation, right? They think, oh my God, where are they? Are they gone? So just tell our fans what happened to those statues, because I saw on social media a lot of fans were not aware of that.
I've got the Ray Lewis one. I've got the Ray Lewis one in my living room.
Exactly. We tried to get it out as much as possible, but we relocated them from Gate A over to Gate D for just this year. So they're over around the stadium on the opposite side of M&T Bank Stadium. But the reason is because we're building right now a team store in that location. That's going to be a 7,500 square foot team store.
Wow, that's huge.
Be open year round starting next year. So that building is getting built it'll be ready for the 25 football season. But by doing that, we had to relocate those statues so they don't get destroyed and ruined in this process. But there's going to be a lot of transformation by the time next year and then the year after. And moving those over was one of the first steps, and now they're starting that process of building that team store area, and that's why you'll see it's all tore up at the stadium on that left-hand side as you enter from Ravens Walk.
Gotcha.
Let me start, Kevin, with what I think would be the most luxury item that you've developed here, and it's called the Black Wing Club. And it's necessitated, and this is not a knock at the club because they're doing it all throughout sports, and the Orioles will be doing it too. We've had the best press box view you could have for 25, 27 years. But
Yeah.
the real estate is so valuable, it's necessitated moving the press box down toward the suites on the other side.
Yeah.
But tell us about what the Black Wing Club is, how many suites are there, and what makes it so special.
Yeah, when we started down this model, we wanted to create like a level of suites that was very, very premium. We love our third and fourth floor suites, and they're great, and we have a lot of them, but we wanted to create 10 suites in the Black Wing Club and Suites that have this unbelievable view and the opportunity to have great food, because we built a kitchen behind there as well. So we built that this past year. We sold all these 10 companies. They're in there, and I think it was one of the best things we've ever done, because every business leader, CEO that's been in there that I've talked to loves their suite in there, and they're excited about it. And the patrons that go in there, they still can't believe it. I mean, we have candy walls in there. We have ability to get ice cream and you name it, but a full service bar. But it's a tremendous area for Baltimore businesses to entertain in there. And these 10 companies saw that, and they were very excited to buy those.
I like the name Black Wing Club, but I was wondering, was there ever any discussion of the Gary Stein Stan the Fan suites?
Well, we tried to get Wilson to do that out on a cost basis, and he said, you better not do that. So we had to pass on that one. But our friends at Sagamore Rye ended up purchasing the naming rights to the Black Wing. So they're the naming rights partner of that level, and they're excited. We're excited to be with them. And, when you show up at the Black Wing Suite, you get a drink made by Sagamore Rye, a specialty drink that day. So it's a pretty cool experience being there. It's not just eating and drinking, but it's the overall vibe of that level is very high level. It's very fun. And I think people in Baltimore are really excited to see it.
Before I turn it over to Gary again for a couple of questions, I'm not giving away, you didn't tell us what company it was, but you said that you could have sold probably 20 of these, but one particular CEO, you went to him and said, of a Fortune 500 company, and said, hey, would you be willing to give up your Black Wing Club I'll put you anywhere else? And what did he say?
They said, no chance. They wanted to keep it. So it's tough, because I wish I had more to sell, but we don't have that. But we're going to build I call it the cousin of Black Wing. We're building 11 field level suites at the end of this year, and those will be open next year for 2025 at the end zone on the Russell Street side of the stadium. And we're digging underneath the stadium, and we're building a club, and these 11 suites will be there. And we've already sold 3 of those. So we're going to move those, and that experience is not going to be much. It's going to be just as good, but pretty close to what's going on the Black Wing. And so these companies are seeing that difference of entertaining down there. They're a little bit smaller suites. They're only 16-person boxes. So if you're a bigger company that had a 24-person suite and you feel like, I don't need that big, but you want that experience of being on the field, and where if Lamar Jackson runs in and scores a touchdown, he probably might be able to jump over the wall and jump in your suite with you, then you're going to enjoy that angle down there.
And one other thing before Gary gets a couple of questions. You told me this is a big commitment for companies, because they can't try it for a year or 2 years. How long are the commitments for?
We typically do 5, 7, and 10-year commitments on our suite. So yeah, it is a commitment, but there's a lot of things that go into that, and the benefits that we provide on behalf of the Ravens, our away game trips and those things. We really do make sure that we're delivering the value for these suite owners.
Kevin, I've got a couple questions for you, but you started to talk about the field level suites that'll be online. I think you said next season, correct?
Yep,
so
25.
Yeah, so I'm trying to envision it. Okay, so these suites are actually on the field, or
They're on the field at the end zone. There'll
okay,
be 11 of them right towards the end, and we've had to relocate some seats as everybody knows, but they will be right there at the end zone of the stadium at field level, so you'll be able to stand there and see all the action of the game right there.
so there won't be a roof on top of these suites. These will be outdoor suites.
They'll be outdoor, though, comfort seats with a TV in front of every one of the seats. There'll
Okay,
be a TV there, and there'll be a club restaurant area behind it. There'll be bars and places to get food. And then you'll have a smaller suite with your brand identificator, behind that'll showcase the company behind there. You don't sit in those suites in the back. The suite is basically there for food and beverage and entertainment, but your seat is outside in the building where you'll sit there, and the 16 seats will be outside watching the game right there at field level, right in the middle of the action.
so are these suites going to be encroaching on the field? Like, in other words, will the distance between the end zone and the wall still be the same?
Stays the same because we're pulling out some seats, so we're tucking it
I
back
see.
a little
Okay.
bit.
Okay.
Yeah, you can't
And
go
then
too
my
far.
and then my next question, Kevin, was when you were deciding to do all this stuff, the Black Wing, the new suites, etc. Did you go around and look at other stadiums around the country and get some ideas and information about what was happening elsewhere?
Yeah, we visited a lot. The one we're building is probably as close as possible to Carolina.
Mm.
Carolina has a suite at the end zone. We really tailored it off of theirs. We liked it, but we spent a lot of time in New Orleans looking at their end zone suite, SoFi looking at theirs. And so we did a lot of due diligence looking at clubs and suites to figure out the exact mold that we wanted here in Baltimore. And for us, the market that we have, and we're going to be over 150 suites when this is done. It's a lot of suites in our building, but we have absolutely zero availability right now. Everything in our building is sold out in suites. So the Baltimore business community has reacted very strongly and really wants to be there. And that's why we're building these other suites, because the demand is there.
Are you finding that the old adage that nothing sells seats like a sellout is true? The fact that there's a demand and you can't get it makes people want it more?
I think it does, but I think it's also the experiential fact of these new suites, where some companies just wanted the suite and enjoy it, but some of them have maybe a different mode, and that's where the ones that have bought these, and they see the benefit of having these new opportunities, and they're all inclusive. You don't have to order your food before the game in these. The food's all there ready for you when you show up. So there is a little bit of that I think has benefited some of these businesses in Baltimore. I don't know if I had 50 more of these, I think that'd be problematic, but knowing that we have the 10 and now we're adding the 11, I think it's fine for us. It's working out for us. And the demand, I think, is very much there amongst these businesses.
Kevin, I've got a bill to pay by
Yeah.
our sponsor, the Costas Inn. And I know Nick and Pete Triantopolos are at every game. They're sitting right near my brother down on about the 30-yard line.
Okay.
They love their seats. They're about 5 rows off the field. But I'm going to do that. And then when we get back, I want to move on and talk about the Miller Lite Gatehouse and the roof deck and a couple other of these exciting new opportunities for fans, including the Fanatics flock shops. Okay.
Yep.
So we'll talk about that. The Costas Inn is one of the places I talk about every week on all of my Zooms right now. I talked about them for about 15, 20 years on radio. They've advertised in the paper, on Glenn's show. So they've been a part of whatever I've been doing for a long time. So I'm very fond of the Triantopolos family. The Costas Inn has been there for over 50 years. I think the exact number is 52 or 53. CostasInn.com is the website. The phone number is 410-477-1975. And I give you that phone number because in addition to nightly specials Monday through Friday, if you are planning to stop by the Costas Inn with some family, friends, or group together, and you want 4 or 5, 6 dozen crabs, that doesn't just magically appear. You got to call that number, 410-477-1975. make sure they've got the sizes you want, the price point you want, and that they're available. Costas Inn, 4100 North Point Boulevard, a landmark restaurant in Baltimore. And they've got great crab cakes, crab soup, and of course, those steamed crabs. Back with more of our show. And Gary, I'll give you first question about the Miller Lite Gatehouse.
Yeah, I mean, Kevin, you know, it's great that we have the Black Wing and there'll be new suites coming and you've got the field level seating. But in reality, that's probably going to affect only about 1,000 or 2,000 people per game. 70,000 plus show up.
Right.
So, you know, without saying this incorrectly, what about the other 68,000? You know, what else is being done around the stadium that most other people can enjoy?
Yeah, and so you look at the Miller Lite Gatehouse when we built that building. We're excited about it because you can enter the stadium from there every game, and I think it's like the most hidden thing at M&T is that there's no lines over on that side of the stadium. You can go in there, grab a beer, grab a pretzel, sit there with your friends, and then go right into the stadium from there and walk to your seat. I think more and more people are starting to find out that that's a great destination to enter the building. But that is a piece that we did for all the fans to enter there. And then the rooftop deck right above is pretty amazing. I mean, it's great views of the city. When the winter comes, we have heated heaters upstairs. We have these louvers that'll close in the rain, so it'll cover up the rain from up there. So we got a lot of ways that we're enhancing the game day experience for all the fans there. Even on club level, we renovated the entire club level this year for all those 8,000 club seat holders that have the bathrooms were all renovated. We put in new furniture. We lightened everything up, repainted the halls and everything like that. And really did a really nice job of making that experience for those club holders, which is 8,000 people. So there's a lot, and there's going to be some other things that we're doing in the next few years that we've been talking about for all the fans. And they enter, and we'll start to probably get those plans out in the next 6 months on how we're going to change the experience at Gate A and that type of thing. So there's a lot going on. It's just, you know, I wish we could do it all in 1 year, but it's just impossible to get all that stuff going on, knowing that we have an Army-Navy game in 2025 at M&T Bank Stadium, so we have to pay attention to that. That's a big, huge moment for the city of Baltimore. So we have to be on a lot of calendars to figure all this stuff out, and knowing you don't even know when your football season will start next year.
That gatehouse, the Miller Lite Gatehouse, how many people can actually be in there at any one time? And is there a premium for entering into the Miller Lite Gatehouse?
No cost. It's open to the fans. I think we can accommodate anywhere from 250 to 300 fans in there a game. It's air conditioned. It'll be heated, but we have the ability to do that. Long-term strategy for us is we're going to start renting out that Miller Lite Gatehouse for events. You know, we're going to have a lot more space at M&T Bank Stadium now after this renovations, that we're going to be using it for, you know, corporate events or corporate, you know, people in town that want to rent it. They're going to be able to rent those type of things. So we're excited about everything that's coming online.
Roof deck, is that a premium?
It isn't. It's open to the fan too. So you can go up there. You don't need to pay extra money. It's any fan can go up there and enjoy a beverage. We do have an all-inclusive thing that we're doing before the game, that we're charging a fee for all the food you can eat up there. So we are doing that if fans want to take advantage of that. But ultimately, there's no premium to get into those two areas. It's open for any fan inside M&T.
Kevin, I think in a normal situation, if I'm not mistaken, the gates open 2 hours before the game. So if it's a 1 o'clock game, gates open at 11. Are the gates still open at 11, or are they being opened earlier now to accommodate some of these new things?
No, we talked about that, but we've pretty much stayed on the 2 hours in those areas. We may accommodate a little bit difference if we have a 4 o'clock game. We're talking about that right now, that if we go a 4 o'clock game in Baltimore, we can come early, watch the 1 o'clock games, and extend out. We're going to be looking at and seeing how the numbers are as we progress. But right now we're kind of staying with the 2 hours to see how that goes until we get one of these 4 o'clock games and figure out that process.
Gotcha. Kevin, also, I'm sure you're aware there's a lot of construction and building around the stadium. I think it's on Warner Street down there, et cetera. How much are you involved with that? Or maybe that's not even the right question, but just aware of what's going on, and how does it all work down there?
Well, we're all involved with the district down there, and everybody's talking to each other. There's a lot of construction that's going to take place. That Warner Street is going to get renovated between the Horseshoe Casino and us, and at
Right.
some point we're going to have to do some shutting down lanes and that type of thing. It's never easy. You never want construction. I mean, it's like you're driving home and you're like, why are they starting this on Labor Day? Why wouldn't they wait till later? So it's the same thing for us, is that sometimes it's just the way the calendar sits and we have to start getting things done. But ultimately, we try and get out as much info as we can to our fan base and let them know. I think we have the benefit of, you can park in the city, and there's a ton of garages in the city, and the walk over is probably just as much fun as sitting inside the stadium, as you get to see a lot of your friends coming in through Camden Yards and going down Ravens Walk. It's always a pretty cool experience, and I think it's the vibe of the city that we have, which makes it a lot of fun.
All right. I wanted to talk to you about one thing that I know upsets Gary and I, because we were shoplifters earlier in our way back when we were much younger. No, but seriously, the Hospitality Evermore, I was reading the description of that, and it says with Amazon just walkout technology. And it explained it that I could walk into it almost like a mini convenience store, grab a beer, a sandwich, and a bag of chips, and just walk out. I don't have to wait. And it automatically can
Charge your card.
Exactly.
Unbelievable. How does that work?
Well, you enter it with your credit card, and once it sees you, the camera's technology above you knows what you're picking up out of the system, and when you're walking out, it'll automatically charge you for that. But we did set up some locations of that, and we do have some beverage coolers that you could go in and grab and check out on your own. They're working really well. I think what you're seeing with our new partner Levy is that we're trying to do a lot more grab and go, because the consumer, when you go to Target or Walmart, a lot of people tend to go the direction of, they want to check out on their own and get it done and get it and move out of there quick. And so that's what's happening in M&T, is that you're starting to see a lot more of our fans that just want to go up, grab a beer, pay for it, and charge it and go back to their seat. So I think you're going to continue to see a much more of that, maybe adapt ourselves to the point where there won't be too many lines where you line up, but there'll be more lines where you line up, grab your beer and grab your pretzel, chicken fingers, and then go back to your seat here.
I've got one more for you, and then I'll give Gary the last question.
Gary.
Yeah, what's the difference? And by the way, that's Gary Stein, now the voice of sports on WCBM radio, starting at 6 a.m. all the way to noon on the half hour. 6:05 starts there, Monday through Friday. They're going to get you for Saturday and Sunday pretty soon. I know that.
Yeah, eventually.
Especially the Mangionis.
Yeah.
They can't have him on Sunday.
No,
he's
the voice of the press box. That can't take place.
Right. I knew the club had a relationship with Fanatics, but now you're calling them the Fanatics Flock Shops, and I guess it's going to be more really kick off that relationship next season.
Yep.
With that monster store on the north side of the stadium, Gate A. But tell us about how that relationship has grown and why it's better for the fan to have a large entity like that intimately involved.
Yeah, we're really excited. I mean, Fanatics is obviously a big partner. They handle the NFL shop for the league. The amount of inventory that Fanatics has is way more than we could ever hold at M&T Bank Stadium. In fact, there's a little locality to this, that one of Fanatics' biggest warehouses on the East Coast is in Aberdeen. And so a lot of their SKUs for all the NFL teams is right up the road in a warehouse in Aberdeen. And so any of the SKUs that we never have had in the past, next year when we build this new team store, we're going to be able to have that. And if you think about walking around our stadium, Stan, we have these very small stores in there, and we've never been able to carry a lot of, additional SKUs, T-shirts, jerseys, you name it. But with next year building a 7,500 square foot team store, we'll have the ability to handle a lot more inventory in there. We'll be able to be open, as many days as possible. And so for people looking for merchandise, now there'll be a big destination that they can go down to the stadium and buy and buy your Christmas gifts or whatever you want. But we'll have much more Ravens stuff down there by next year.
In the 20 plus years you've been with the Ravens, Has NFL merchandise become a more important, almost every couple of years, revenue stream?
It's grown a little bit, but it's not grown to the way that tickets and those type of things have gone. But what it is it's a great experiential thing that when you bring your son or daughter to a game and you want to have that feeling of buying them their first jersey or the stuffed Poe doll, those things are, people remember that. It's like I remember when I was a kid growing up in Valparaiso, Indiana, going to White Sox games and I bought mini bats. You just remember those type of things, the experience that you have. And that's what we have to do here. And that's what this new store will provide is the ability to connect with all of our folks and get jerseys, hats, t-shirts, you name it. And it'll allow us to really tie in and do a lot more things Ravens branded than we've never had before.
Gary, you got the last one or two, real
Yeah,
quick.
I've got two more. Kevin, sorry about the White Sox, by the way, but
I know, not a good year.
It is historic.
We got room for you in the Oriole flock.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Go
Kevin,
ahead, Gary.
how many years you been with the Ravens now?
This is my 23rd year.
23rd year. So you weren't here in 96 and 97 when they started here.
No.
But still, having said that, though, if you look back on 23 years, and next year is going to be the 30th year that the franchise will be in existence in Baltimore.
Right.
Well, first of all, can you not enlighten us and tell us secrets, but I'm sure you're planning a lot of things for the 30th anniversary. Is there anything that you can tell us that may be on the horizon in terms of that?
Nothing yet. We're keeping it all closed lip, and as we go through this process and try and figure that out, but it does give you, and I think the fans will recollect, all the times when you look at 30 years, it's pretty memorable time, and to win 2 Super Bowls in that time, and hopefully a third this year, that would be pretty amazing to do that. So it is the fan base here is tremendous, as we all know. Between us and the Orioles and what we've put together and the Camden Yard Sports Complex, it's really tremendous that we have all this. And I think when you go back and look at those years, when you look at the team starting in 96, we've grown a lot and we've changed a lot. But the one thing that we've never gone away from is to provide a great fan experience for our fans every game and to be a positive force in the community. And under Steve Bisciotti and his wife, Renee, that's never been deterred. We've always focused on that, and it's been a major focus for us. And so we'll continue to keep doing that, every year, because that's why we're here in Baltimore.
And so let me ask you a final question on that in terms of the stadiums. I'm sure when you did this construction and everything, I'm sure you talked to your stadium ops people, et cetera. Like, what are the shelf lives of these stadiums? I'm sure you wouldn't have entered into a 30-year lease or whatever it was, or 15, without knowing that the stadium was going to be around. But my point is, like, Wrigley Field is 100 years old. Fenway is 100 years old. Like how old can a football stadium get? Have you guys thought about that at all?
We've talked about it, but the one thing that we've always done, and Steve has been really focused on that with us, was putting the money into the stadium and make sure that we keep it up to date. Mm-hmm. And so if you come to M&T and you look at it, it's phenomenal. Yeah. And we have put a lot of money into that building to keep it going. At some point you got to redo the pipes and those type of things, and that will change. But right now we're putting so much money into each area. Steve's been putting in a lot of money over the years of him owning the team. So ultimately we feel like we have a lot of shelf life at M&T Bank Stadium. And we feel like the money that we put in keeps getting better, and we'll keep making those adjustments and those improvements. And we know our friends across the street at the Orioles will do the same. So, we're using the money very wisely, and the state's working with us. But I look at it as that is a great corridor in Baltimore to have both those teams downtown and in that business corridor. And so as long as we can stay and keep doing great things there, I think it's phenomenal for the city.
I wanted to put in one word for our friend. Gary and I are friends with Terry Hazeltine, and we do a lot with Terry. And the fact that he's able to get the caliber of events like Army, Navy, in working in relationship with in coordination with the Ravens, I think helps to defray some of the costs of this.
Absolutely. And that is not just a Baltimore event coming. That's a statewide event, as you know. And it's one that I think if anybody in Baltimore can get tickets and go to that event, please do. It's one of the best things that you can ever see is the Army Navy game in your local background right in your city. So you'll expect that. We're going to continue once we get through. We'll always do some, we get into some soccer here and there, concerts. We'll get back into that business once we finish what we need to get done and make sure that we delivered our fans what we wanted.
The last thing I wanted to ask you is you mentioned the Orioles. Is with the new ownership in place, do you think there's a chance for the relationship? I know Buck Showalter got along with John Harbaugh and Brandon Hyde goes over there and the players like each other. But do you think the coordination between the two can be better with Mr. Rubenstein?
I think it already has, Stan. I think there's already been conversations, and I think internally we know folks over there. I just think it's, when you go through that process and the change in leadership and change in ownership, there's just an ability to reconnect and do those things. And so I think you'll see from time to time things that we're doing together more and more. Obviously, when both teams win, everything rises in this town. And so we're the biggest Orioles fans and they're the biggest Ravens fans. So it's better for the city when everybody's winning and putting on a good product on the field.
Well
Absolutely.
said. Kevin,
Yep.
we look forward to this conversation every year. Really appreciate
Absolutely.
digging into this stuff. Kevin Rochlitz, he's Senior Vice President, Chief Sales Officer of the Baltimore Ravens, and Gary Stein, the voice of WCBM Sports, in addition to his other day job as the President and CEO of Studio 83 video production house.
Thank you,
I'm
Stan.
Stan the Fan, and I'm just do these Zooms, everyone. We'll talk soon. Eric Garfield and I will be on tomorrow. Actually, we're recording tomorrow with a last look at the prospects of the Orioles. That's it for today. Again, for Gary Stein